Welcome and good afternoon. This is Kamish Orr, and today I'm doing what essentially is a part two of my Legends and Busts video. Part one, I kind of took a look at the position players of the Legends and Busts set and my league to try to see what I was going to add or what the Legends and Busts set was going to allow me to add for players. And so now I'm going to look at the pitchers today, and I'm also going to go back and tell you exactly who I'm adding to the league and who is going to be pushed out of the league, I should say. And very simply, if you haven't seen one of those videos before and you haven't watched one of the prior videos, I have a Hall of Fame league made up of 6 teams of Hall of Famers, 3 American League and 3 National League teams of Hall of Famers, and 1 team in each league of players not in the Hall of Fame, either because they aren't eligible for the Hall of Fame yet because they just retired, or because they haven't been elected for whatever reason. So players like Barry Bonds or Pete Rose or Shoeless Joe Jackson or what have you. And so my limitation so far has been that Sideline Strategy, the creator of Payoff Pitch, does not have every Major League Baseball season carded. So my limitation had been that I was limited on which cards I had available and what seasons were available. And so some players I couldn't put in the league because they either weren't carded at all, or because the only season that they're carded, they were in the decline of their career or just starting out in their career and didn't have a very good season. So this limitation was especially noticeable for players, I'd say the pre-1940s, because the only 2 seasons before that were 1921 and 1933. So some of those older guys like Honus Wagner were just not carded. So those players weren't in my league. Now, though, with the addition of the Legends and Busts sets 1 and 2, a lot of those players are now carded with those sets, if you aren't familiar, have players carded at about career averages for the most part, roughly career average stats. So a lot of those guys will finally have a chance to be in the league. And Legends and Busts, the first set came out in 2024, about a year ago. And Set 2 was just released within the past month. And Set 2 added some of the players that were missing. One could argue what missing means. I say that weren't included in Set 1. So there were a few more Hall of Famers that were included in Set 2 that weren't in Set 1. And so now that both sets are out, I decided it was a good time to take a look at the rosters in my league and determine which players should be in there and which players I can add in from the new sets now that I have cards for them. So players like Honus Wagner that I've already mentioned. So in my first video, I kind of went through the positions, laid them out, and roughly took a look to see who might or might not be added to the league. But I stopped and had not done pitchers. And so today I'm going to talk about the pitchers. And then I'm going to, as I said, go through and tell you exactly who I'm adding to the league. And you'll also notice some remaining limitations with either of the Legends of Busts sets. So before I start, this is a long ramble to get us to this point, but before I officially start the video and talk about the players and show you the players, let me start by saying that if you do not play season replays and you're playing best of or draft or some kind of fantasy matchup league or projects, then you absolutely want to get the Legends and Bust sets 1 and 2. They are filled with Hall of Fame players, great players, um, all sorts of players, including the busts. So the busts are players that um, their careers kind of flamed out. They were thought it was thought that they were going to be great, and the careers didn't pan out that way. Um, or in Legends of Bust Set 2, it also includes players who were thought to be great but never maybe made the major leagues and were stuck in AAA or AA or the minors. So it includes those players too. Highly touted players that never got called up or barely got called up. And on top of all of that, Legends of Bust Set 2 also includes some of the Japanese Baseball League greats. So if you want to add Japanese players into your replays or projects, I should say, then you can get them through the Legends of Bust Set 2. Now, if you want to add Negro Leaguers, there's a whole set of Negro League players that is also released. So prior to that Negro League set, the only Negro Leaguers were in the 1921 card set. There was roughly a team of Negro League players. But with the Negro League set now, there is quite a few Negro League players that you can use. So that gets us all caught up to date. Let's take a look at where we stand with the players. Of course, as always, I did a huge spreadsheet to map all of this out. And what I've done is I've gone to Baseball Reference. By the way, you can head over to baseballmaelstrom.com if you want to follow the action. Just head over to baseballmaelstrom.com, follow the action. There we go. And you can follow all the projects that I have going on. But what I've done is, if you are looking at Baseball Reference a lot, they have something called a JAWS rating. And JAWS is the Jay Jaffe's book, Cooperstown Case book, where he takes the wins above replacement career score and combines that with the peak 7-year wins above replacement to come up with this JAWS rating. So it kind of gives you an idea of the top players by position. So that's what I did. I went through each position, sorted by JAWS on Baseball Reference, and they clearly tell you who the Hall of Famers are. They're marked. And then I needed the teams of non-Hall of Famers too, and those are also easy to see in the list. So what I did was I went through and took the top, since there's 8 teams, I took the top 16, roughly, top 8 American, top 8 National League players at each position as a starting point. And then sometimes you didn't get 8 players, 8 American and 8 National, so you had to kind of go a little deeper in it. And then, of course, my league, each team has Negro Leaguers, so those are added in too, and those Negro Leaguers aren't always the top 16 players, so sometimes they get added in, they weren't the top 16 players. Likewise, some players are still not carded with either the Legends and Bust sets. So that's kind of what I was talking about with limitations, and that becomes more noticeable here with the pitchers. And then something else that I'm doing when deciding players is I'm not using anybody that played prior to the modern Major League Baseball structure. So anybody pre-1900 is not going to be in my league unless they played across the turn of that century into the 1900s. Then I've kind of thrown them out. So everything's color-coded here. The blue are pitchers, the blue are American League Hall of Fame players that are in the league, that are in my league. The light blue are non-Hall of Fame American League players that are in my league. The red are National League Hall of Fame players that are in my league, and the light red are non-Hall of Fame National League players that are in my league. So that's how you know who I already have in my league. And then you'll notice some other color coding. Gray means they're current players. So they're not eligible to be in my league at all because they're still playing. There's a number of those. And what other color? Oh, the dark gold, if you will. Well, the gold are Hall of Famers that are not in my league. And then the dark gold are Hall of Fame players, but they're pre-1900, and I'm not going to bring them into the league. So lots of color coding going on, and I hope that wasn't too confusing. So I'd done the positions, and now I was doing pitchers. And for pitchers, you kind of have to read it like this. There's 4 spots, so that I didn't have one huge long list. I kind of went like this: 1, 2, 3, 4 in the top row, 5, 6, 7, 8 in the second row, 9, 10, 11, 12. So you kind of read it as a scrolling row of top pitchers, if that makes sense. So the overall number 1 pitcher by Jaws is Walter Johnson. Walter Johnson. So if you come here to pitchers and you sort by Jaws, you see number 1, Walter Johnson. So as you can see, most of the top pitchers are already in my league. Anybody that's colored red or blue, or light red or light blue, are already in my league. So most of the top pitchers are already in my league. Then you have pitchers like Kid Nichols. He's a turn of the 1900s pitcher. I'm not going to bring him in. So you have a handful of those guys. More pitchers than position players. There were only a couple of position players that fell into that category. More pitchers. So you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. There's 8 pitchers that are top pitchers, but I'm not bringing them into the league because they were all 1800s guys. So I threw those out altogether. Then you'll also notice there are some white, uncolored players. Those are players not in the Hall of Fame, but they did make the top in case of pitchers. 8 teams of 10 pitchers, I think top 80, roughly. So those players were not in the Hall of Fame. And they, in most cases, are not in either of the Legends and Busts sets. So that's what I'm talking about with a few limitations with Legends and Busts. If they have a cross out through them, they aren't in the Legends and Busts set. So I couldn't bring them in even if I wanted to. Or they played and there's not a card for them. So there are a handful of those. 6 of the top pitchers that I can't bring into the league because they're not carded. 6 or 7. All right. And this row is relievers, by the way. This column, I should say. This column. And relievers are a little weird because a lot of the times the relievers list on Baseball Reference for Jaws includes pitchers that weren't relievers every year, like Kerry Wood. Kerry Wood is on the relievers list, even though he was a starter for many seasons. For whatever reason, he's on the reliever list. So I wasn't going to bring him in to the league. I wanted pure relievers if I could. And in the case of relievers, there are many pure relievers that just aren't carded. So Chance, even though he's the number 5 reliever, he wasn't in either Legends and Busts set, and he doesn't have a card that really would represent him well. So there's quite a few of those relievers that just aren't gonna be in the league because there's no good card for him, if that makes sense. Anyway, so what I've done is I've kind of gone through and highlighted and seen what pitchers are out there and which pitchers could be that aren't currently in the league, and try to get an idea of who I'd bring into the league. And it took a little while, but I've gone through them all, and you can see them here. And as I said, for pitchers, I think well, even position players, I think overall my league contains all the top players, as it should, with just a few exceptions. So when all is said and done, who am I going to bring into the league? Well, let's go position by position. Bill Dickey is the highest rated Hall of Famer that is not currently in my league. The problem is he's an American League Hall of Fame catcher. Josh Gibson is a Negro League guy. He's not going to be bumped from the league because I have to have a Negro League guy in the league, especially Josh Gibson. The only player he could really replace is Mickey Cochran, and the difference between them is negligible. So I'm not going to bring him into the league. So Bill Dickey isn't coming into the league. Buck Ewing down here is a Hall of Famer, but he is pre-1900, so not bringing him into the league either. First base, there were actually 3 Hall of Famers that are pre-1900 guys that I'm not bringing in, like Cap Anson, Roger Connor, Brothers, not bringing them in because they're pre-1900, and it's just a rule that I made for myself. Likewise, Paul Goldschmidt is a current player. Believe it or not, he's number 14 on the list of first basemen. But he's still playing, so he's not going to be in my league. The only person that was possible was Jim Thome. And Mule Suttles is a Negro Leaguer, so he's not going to get bumped out. Dick Allen would be the only guy that Thome would bump out, and the problem is Dick Allen is the league leader in home runs in my league right now, so I'm not going to bump him out because he's one of the stat leaders in my current league. So Thome kind of gets left out and doesn't join the league because of that. Now we get to second baseman, and there are actually 3 that aren't in my league that I'm bringing in. The top one is Nap Lachey. Yeah, I know it doesn't look like it's spelled. I never knew how to pronounce it for many years, but Lachey is supposedly the correct pronunciation. Anyway, he is in the Legends of Bus set. Hadn't been carded before. And he's an American League second baseman. So Bobby Doerr is actually getting bumped out. Nellie Fox is hitting over 300 and is doing very well in my league, so I'm not bumping him out. But Bobby Doerr is getting bumped out so that I can bring in Knapp. If we head down the list, Robinson Cano is a current player. He's not going to come in. Chase Utley. Chase Utley is a non-Hall of Famer, but he's number 11 on the list of second basemen. And National League second baseman, non-Hall of Fame, Lonnie Fry is getting bumped out of the league for Chase Utley. So Fry will leave, Utley will join. Continuing down the list, we have Craig Biggio, who is a National League Hall of Fame second baseman. And Bill Mazeroski is currently in the league, and so Biggio is actually going to come into the league and bump Mazeroski out of the league. And actually, Biggio is, I'm not using his Legends and Bus card. I can't remember if he's carded or not in Legends and Bus, but regardless, I'm using an actual, I think, 1994, his 1994 season card in that case. So he's going to come in. Heading to third base, most of the top third basemen are already in the league. All of these guys. But Scott Rowland would be the top Hall of Fame National League third baseman that's not currently in the league. He will take the place of Tony Perez, who gets bumped out. And Edgar Martinez, who one could argue is actually a DH and not a third baseman, but he did play third base for a good portion of his career. He will bump out Harmon Killebrew. I had Harmon Killebrew in the league. I like Harmon Killebrew, but he has done horribly in both seasons of my league. So he's going to get bumped out for Edgar Martinez. Shortstops. The number one shortstop, Honus Wagner, is in the Legends Bust Set. So for sure, he's coming into my league, and Dave Bancroft is the one that's going to get bumped out because Willie Wells is a Negro League guy. He's staying in. Dave Bancroft would be the lowest Hall of Fame National Leaguer, and he'll get bumped out. George Davis is a Hall of Fame shortstop, but he is not carded in either of the Legends Bust Set, so he can't join the league. Luke Appling is going to join the league and bump out Joe Cronin. And this one was a tough decision, but Ernie Banks had a card, but his season card was not for a very good season of his. But he is in the Legends of Bust Set. So Ernie Banks is coming into the league, and he will bump out Barry Larkin. Pee Wee Reese could have been bumped out, but he's actually doing really well in the league. So I didn't want to bump him out because he's doing really well. So instead, Ernie Banks will take the place of Barry Larkin. Over in left field, we have Ed Delahanty, who is in the Legends of Bust Set. He will bump out Ralph Kiner. Al Simmons will bump out Jim Rice. And Goose Goslin will bump out Minnie Minoso. So those three players will be released. There are a couple of left fielders who are Hall of Famers but are not carded in either Legends Bust Set. So that's what I mean. The Legends of Bust Set has a huge number of players, but there are a few even Hall of Famers that aren't included in the set. Just something to keep in mind. But they're, I don't want to say they're fairly obscure guys, but they're not like, they're not the more popular guys, I would say. In center field, Mike Trout is a current player, so he's not going to be in, but he's number 6 in center field already and still playing. Andrew Jones would be the highest rated player, not in my league. And again, he had a card. He was carded, but it wasn't for a very good season. But he is in the Legends of Bust Set. So he's going to join the league, and Willie Davis will be leaving. So Andrew Jones will take the place of Willie Davis. In right field, Mookie Betts, again, the number 4 ranked right fielder, but still active, so he can't join the league. But Paul Wainer is in the Legends of Bust Set, and so he'll join the league, and he'll bump out Chuck Klein. The only other player, Sam Crawford, is not carded, so he cannot join the league. He's probably the highest rated Hall of Famer not in either of the Legends and Bust Sets. And I know Joe has said that there could be a Legends and Bust Set 3, so maybe some of these guys will come in through that set, but I'm not sure. And then the only other player in the right field list would be Reggie Smith as a non-Hall of Famer, but he also doesn't have a good card to use for him, so he's not going to join the league. Now, heading over to the pitchers, as I said, overall, the top pitchers for the most part were already in the league, or they were pre-1900 guys, so they're not going to join the league anyway, or they weren't carded. So I couldn't bring them into the league even if I wanted to, including a couple Hall of Famers. So Griffith, Willis, Dazzy Vance, all Hall of Famers, but they're not carded in the Legends of Bust set. However, there were a few that were carded that are going to join, and the highest rated Hall of Fame pitcher post 1900 was Eddie Plank. So Catfish Hunter will get bumped from the league. The only other pitcher rated lower than Catfish Hunter is Satchel Paige, and he's the Negro League guy, and he's not going to get bumped. So Eddie Plank's going to take the place of Catfish Hunter. Let's see. McGinnity will take the place of Dizzy Dean. Yeah, Dizzy Dean's down here somewhere. And Jack Morris will leave, and Rube Waddle will join. So those are going to be the three starting pitcher changes that are going to take place. Are those three. In the relievers, as I said, the relievers are a little bit of a mess because there are so many players that I wouldn't necessarily refer to as relievers. I mean, they did relief, but they also started a good portion of their careers, and so the Jaws rating I think is a little skewed because of the fact that they started, and or they aren't carded in the Legends of Bust set, and they don't have a good card in any season. So the relievers I kind of left alone, other than there was only one that I'm making a change on, and that's John Hiller, who isn't a Legends of Bust guy, but his 1973 season card is really good, and he's higher rated than Tom Henke as a non-Hall of Famer. So he's going to join the league in place of Tom Henke. So Henke will exit, and John Hiller, who's the highest rated non-Hall of Famer that has a card available that's decent, will take his place. So that's kind of what we're looking at. If you want to know how this is going to impact teams, because that's a lot of players coming in, 3, 5, 8, 11, 13, 6, 17 players are coming into the league. And keep in mind, each of the 8 teams has about a 25-man roster. Or I think they have a 25-man roster. So that's 200 players. And so we're almost replacing 10%. 18 of the 20 of the 200. Not quite, but almost 10%. So Boston's going to lose 3 or have 3 replaced. Only one of those 3 is currently in their starting lineup. Oh, no, 5. I guess they have 5 because of the 2 pitchers. So they have 1 in their starting lineup and 2 of their pitchers because they have Jack Morris and Catfish Hunter. Those guys will be swapped out. Oakland has 2. Only 1 of those in their starting lineup, Harmon Killebrew. So 2 will get replaced there. The New York doesn't have any. So the New York team's going to be completely as is. There's no changes. And then Detroit only has 1, and that's Tom Henke leaving and getting replaced. They're the non-Hall of Fame team, by the way. So if you want to know who's on the non-Hall of Fame team, it's like Thurman Munson, Rafael Palmeiro, Mark McGwire, Alex Rodriguez, Miguel Cabrera because he just retired, Manny Ramirez, Kenny Lofton, Shoeless Joe Jackson, Roger Clemens. You know, it's guys like that. Good players, great players, just not in the Hall of Fame. So over in the National League, Los Angeles is going to have 3 players swapped out. One could argue 2 of those players are in the starting lineup. 1 against lefties, 1 against righties. Houston will see 2 players, both of which are in the starting lineup at various times. St. Louis will see 2 players, none in the starting lineup. 1 pitcher, though, Dizzy Dean. And then Chicago is the National League non-Hall of Fame team, and they'll have 2 players swapped out as well. So Lonnie Fry actually leads off against lefties. He'll get swapped out, though. And then Willie Davis, as I mentioned. And if you want to know who's on the National League non-Hall of Fame team, it's Buster Posey, just retired, Gene Tennis, Joey Votto, Keith Hernandez, Jeff Kent, Jamie Rollins, Troy Tulowitzki, Pujols, Barry Bonds, Pete Rose, Sammy Sosa, players like that, Dwight Gooden, Rick Russell, Jerry Koosman, Oral Hershiser, Kurt Schilling. Those are the kinds of players that are on the National League non-Hall of Fame team. So it's going to take me a bit before I get these players swapped around. So I haven't played any games this week. Normally I play 4 games a week. I'm kind of in between my season ticket baseball projects because I'm waiting to set up my next tournament for that, and hoping to get some player ratings, some XLs of some player ratings, so I can do that quicker than manually entering all of those in my sheets here. Every project I kind of create one of these Excel sheets so that each team has a little page. I have the schedule here if I need it. So I have a schedule that I keep track of, and all of the players in the league, I have those all, and then I created a tab for all of this work that I'm doing on this. All-Star Game has its own tab. Home Run Derby has its own tab. So that's kind of what I do for my projects. In any event, so it's going to take me a bit because I got to add all of these guys to these teams, to the spreadsheet of the team first of all, and then get them into ball score and ball stat, and then reconfigure any lineups I need to reconfigure, and then I'm going to be ready to go. So it may take me a little bit more time to do all of that, but it's been interesting. It's been fun just going through the players. Because as I said, Legends and Busts just opened so many doors to possibilities. If you are playing a best of or fantasy matchups or whatever you are playing, or you just want to create your own league of these players, there are plenty of players now to choose from with two full sets. And again, you can add Negro Leaguers into that or have them separate. But just so many possibilities created by these sets. Really, really exciting stuff. I encourage you to take advantage of those card sets and head over to Sideline Strategy and pick those up, and you will not be disappointed. So that's where we will leave things today. I really appreciate you watching. Let me know what you think down in the comments, and until next time, have a great evening.